Hello everyone, good afternoon and thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Tracey and you're tuning into Globespan 24/7 here on Facebook and also for the persons streaming us on YouTube. Now this afternoon we are continuing the topic that we started a few weeks ago, reducing domestic violence. As we all know, domestic violence is a huge issue in the Caribbean and particularly Guyana, and so today we continue the focus on Guyana, and we will be discussing the legal ramifications of this issue and what can be done for the perpetrators and also, most importantly, the victims. I am joined by attorney at law, Ms. Kyte, and she's also the former Solicitor General, and also a social worker practitioner, Ms. Nicole. Now, these women are no stranger to the public, to Guyanese overseas and back home, and so they have been very, very vocal in this fight against domestic violence. I know Ms. Cole, she is out in the field helping women, advising them, helping to get bills drafted to protect them, and so is Ms. Kyte. And so we're going to be talking, just have a real conversation about the laws that are in place to protect our women, why those laws aren't working for the women, and what more needs to be done. And so I know these women, they will not shy away. They're going to speak very plainly. They're very vocal, and they're just going to hammer in on this issue. So ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Welcome to the viewers. We're happy that you took time out to tune in to what we have to say. God bless you all.
Yes, thank you so very much. It's a pleasure having you all on board. And as I said, our topic, as you all know, and just for the public, reducing domestic violence. Now,
Yes.
I'd like to start with you, Ms. Cole. What's your general thought on this issue of domestic violence and how it's being handled in Guyana?
Given the fact that you've asked that, I want to actually bring up something that I did, and this is in June of 2018. This is when, for me, last year was a horrendous year. This is the Kyte news, and on page 14, I'm actually talking about 10 Guyanese women murdered in 5 months, which, last year we started with the murder in New York of a Guyanese woman, and then it all continued, and then when we get into March, it took like a spike. And one of the things that I said here is that there must be prevention at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. This is not happening. What we have here is a more reactionary approach, with even our Minister of Public Security appears to be clueless and would make statements like he just don't know what to do, when in fact there was a national committee for the prevention of interpersonal violence that functioned under the previous government. And this is not about giving the previous government any kudos. This is about speaking about an issue that was being tackled, that was actually shelved. So that approach was seen as a preventative one. You had everyone from law enforcement there. You had persons from the prison. You had everyone there who was looking at 55 recommendations that actually came out of a national conference this nation spent millions of dollars to keep in 2013 at the Arthur Chung Convention Center, looking at the issue of addressing interpersonal violence. His Excellency, who's now the President of Guyana, who was the opposition leader then, attended that conference. So in Guyana, we are just doing what is called, for me, empty platitudes. We speak a lot about it. We talk robustly how Guyana leads in the Caribbean with the laws, but in the reality, it is not working for women in the way that it should be working. In other words, the laws are impotent to protect the women who are engaged or in having conflict in their homes and seeking access to justice. And if you think it's bad here on the coast, in the hinterland it's worse.
Yes, thank you there, Ms. Cole. Ms. Kyte, you are in the legal fraternity. What's your general thought on this issue in Guyana?
Um, I believe that I think there's a recognition by all of us that we as a nation, I don't believe that we are winning in terms of curbing this issue. I totally agree. And I mean, anybody looking at the stats would agree that where the domestic violence fight is concerned, we have not been very successful. And we have to recognize this as a nation. This is not a question of throwing blame on anybody, but we have to recognize that we have not been successful. We have in place the domestic violence legislation. Um, first of all, I don't think perhaps a number of persons, and I don't want to just zero in on women, because you could have men too who are victims. But again,
Indeed.
the stats show that you have far more women. But at the same time, I don't want to, sound like I'm just protecting the women. We have
But we
a
must
piece of
protect the women.
legislation.
We must protect them. We must want to protect them.
Yes, yes. We have a piece of legislation in place. A number of persons, I believe, are not even aware of the fact, aware of their rights. What they could
Indeed.
successfully apply to a magistrate to receive in terms of protection orders, in terms of maintenance orders, in terms of occupation orders. Persons are, I believe, unaware of this, and I say this because I just don't operate in a courtroom. I interact with persons. And it's the first time some of them hear this. So we start off with the fact that persons are not educated in this regard, in terms of knowing what rights, what avenues, what the law, provides for them. So that's the first issue. The second issue we have is the application of that law. And when I say application, I'm speaking right from the bottom straight up. I'm talking about the police officer, the victim goes to. I am talking about our court system. I am talking about even the requisite provisions in place. Because I believe that the sanctions for some of these offenses need to be reviewed with a view of perhaps making them a bit more harsh. So
I
that
I concur with you as a survivor.
yes, so that for me it is every strata. I like how Nicole puts it over with the different primary, secondary, and tertiary. It is
Oh
every
yeah.
strata. And I don't even stop at the justice sector alone. I believe we need, as a nation, all stakeholders need to get involved. All stakeholders, I mean probation and welfare, I mean the NGOs, I mean the religious bodies. We have to reach down straight to our families. We got to go into the communities, Tracy, and we have to reach to our families. I believe counseling is needed for women, men, and children.
Yes.
Women must understand, and men must understand too, what are the consequences of domestic violence, and women need to understand how they could be protected so that it's a holistic. As a nation, we have to return. We need to have this national discussion because from where I sit and my interaction, and Nicole would agree with me, we are not winning here. We have the Domestic Violence Act how long? And we are not
1996. It's
winning.
1996.
Thank you. And we're not winning. So what we have to do, we have to return to the drawing board. We have to go back into our communities. We have to do counseling. We have to do education. We have to look at amending our provisions. If persons perhaps know that where you commit a domestic violence related offense, no bail is in place, you would be registered as an abuser. Perhaps if those things are in place,
And you have to pay compensation
if these things
for
are in place,
damages.
persons perhaps will think again, will rethink how they treat their spouses. Okay, I've said a lot.
Miss Miss
You've
Kyte,
said
you
you've
touched on
said
it,
enough,
one
but
it.
Tracy, allow me this.
I will.
Magistrate said something important. She talked about an occupation and maintenance
That's what I
order,
wanted for her
right?
to touch on a little bit more.
But here, no, listen, something happening right now. We are seeing this, and I would like the magistrate to help me here. The phenomenon of murder suicides, whereby the males are prepared to take the lives of their spouse, themselves, and even children in the process.
Yes.
For last year, 2018, we've had a horrendous year with murder suicides, the majority coming out of Region 6. That is worrying. And the other phenomena is that the men are prepared to go and burn down that house
Yes.
once they are not inside. How do we
Yes.
address that?
Yes. 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 Um, that is quite true. When the perpetrator kills himself, um, basically there is no relief. There is no person that you could find accountable, right? Because he has taken his life. So, in relation to those issues, those things call for serious counseling. That's why I'm saying it's not just the justice sector, it is every sector, it is every stakeholder. We need, as a nation, to come together because a man who is prepared to take his life and take the life of his children, that is not a person who is walking around who's mentally stable. That
Thank you.
person isn't mentally stable. You are
Miss
prepared to take the life of your children and your wife and me and your own life. So that calls serious community, family, therapy, and counseling.
Now, Miss Cole, you are a survivor. I'd like for you to
Yes, I
tell
am.
me, what happened? How did you? I wouldn't want to use the word fall in, but how did it happen? And how were you able to get to this place now? To get so much strength to advocate for other women, and you're knocking down doors and all of that to help them as well. You're out there actually doing this. You're not just talking.
And willing to share my story, because remember what happens every time you share your story. There are some people who want to use that against you. I've been to court and had lawyers laugh at me. Laugh, yes. Instead of their being there to comfort, they laughed openly. Myself having been in the court. For me, I think what I did not pick up on is that childhood trauma can lead a man to be abusive. In my case, my ex had experienced child abuse in the fact of harsh physical punishment for things, for simple things. And you know, Tracey, in Guyana, we have a history of corporal punishment and beatings and the whip, which has an ugly history in the transatlantic slave trade. And so I did not pick up on that. But there was something that he used to say to me that I didn't really caught on to me until after I would have disconnected from him. He used to always say to me that he wants a woman who is just like his mother. So I wanted to know, well, what was this about? Of course, boys will tend to gravitate to women who remind him of their mom. But what he in actual words was saying to me is that he wanted a woman who was going to be passive and docile and accept abuse. Because you see, he lived seeing his father beat his mother horrendously. Even when we were together, when we thought the abuse had finished, there was a time he got so emotional, he cried, and he wanted me to go across and to join him in this, to really attack the dad. And I said, no, these are your parents, and I won't cross that line. But I encourage you to go soft. This is when the father hit the mother. Even when we were together, he thought it was over. But the mother would have had her arm perhaps broken and she has chap in her face. And so when he said to me that he wanted a woman like his mother, I think he wanted me to have these scars. I do have one. He left. If you can look here, you'll see the little bump on my lip that carried 13 sutures. So he did leave a mark, but I was prepared that that was the only mark that he was going to leave. What he didn't expect was that for me to take action with the police. You see, this is a man in the army. He was in the Guyana Defense Force. And mind you, when it actually broke, the chaplain then, I went to the chaplain. The commander then of Coast Guard was Commander George. He was very nice. I must say the army stepped in. They even arrested him. Oh, yes. And they locked him up because they had warned him to stay away from me, but he kept persisting wherever I go on the road and would sexually harass me, and behave, ownership. I wasn't supposed to leave him. This is the most horrible part with leaving men. And this is why our dear sister, Shondell Williamson, was burnt. When you leave them, you have to look over your shoulder. I thank God that I had monies enough to hire a bodyguard. That's the only reason I'm alive. Not
What
only
was
did I hire a bodyguard, but my aunt provided. You see, if you don't have a safe home, somewhere to run, up to now, the state is still derelict in providing safe places for women, you know. Help and Shelter is doing it. Help and Shelter is really leading it. But the government has to do better. I know there's a new family welfare center soon to be open, and I want to commend this government for that. But just like Justice George said in 2012, she says, unless we are prepared to piggyback on the HIV fight in the similar manner, she said HIV receive funding for every aspect. She said to reduce domestic violence will call for money. And this is when she called for a business coalition on domestic violence, because we have a business coalition on HIV. We can't reduce it without money. We have to have money. I can remember advocating to the then President Donald Ramatar. I begged for a survivors fund because we have women who are so maimed that they cannot get a job to look after themselves. They need welfare. They need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So I am here because my family who still supports me today is the foundation of where I am today and where I sit. And they're quick to come to my defense. And so I thank God for the family system that worked, because with all of Guyana's laws, they are wholly impotent.
So, I mean, I just want to repeat it. You're saying if you did not hire a bodyguard, you would not have been alive. And
Because
I
he
mean,
was looking
most of
for
the
me. He
women
was looking, he was searching, he was looking. Remember, I escaped from where we used to be. He did not know where I was because my aunt opened up her
hiding.
house.
You
So
were
he
in
didn't know where to find,
hiding.
but he kept up looking. But when I heard he was looking, I decided to take extra precaution. I got a
A lot of
sharpshooter.
other women cannot do that. No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's
I
so
was
many women who
prepared to
are
fire right back
leaving.
at him.
There are women who are
Yeah.
leaving, who have left, and who are using the law to protect them. But still, our women are being run over with cars, stabbed to death, and
Yes.
their homes are being burned down. So, what more? How can we really use the law to protect our women? Where are we going? Because the law can't protect them. So, what do we do now?
Well, do you know what I called for? A couple of years ago, I did this in my capacity sitting on the Women and Gender Equality Commission. And one of our key thematic areas is gender-based violence. I called for the femicide law to be introduced in here. I said what is happening to women is femicide. Brazil have it. When I spoke about the femicide law, somebody said, because if you have the law, the femicide legislation, you've got to make provision. It's a very serious legislation. This is how Brazil reduced its domestic violence. They have a law, they named it after a woman, but you have a law there that speaks. You see, this 1996 Domestic Violence Act, it's toothless. It doesn't provide, it gives you occupation and you have some orders that comes along with it. But it really does nothing. The man disrespects that, just like how he disrespects what is called a restraining order that says that he mustn't come within certain feet. Women have died with showing man restraining. That doesn't, a man will come at you. You deal with testosterone power. You gotta match him. This is why
Miss
men fear
Kyte, how
men.
do we match the men? How can
So
women
men
match
fear
the men
men.
to
You have
protect
to match them with
themselves?
firepower. Prepare
So,
to fire
Well,
on them.
the truth of the matter, I would tell victims that although you have the order in place, so that you have a protection order, the protection order prohibits the offender from coming within a certain proximity of the victim. The occupation order could put them out of the house, so that the man is restrained from returning to the house. He's prevented from going to the house. And perhaps the victim's workplace, and coming within a certain, as I said, proximity of the victim. The problem with that is that Nicole is right. They breach it. We have seen that happen several times in Guyana.
And women end up dead.
Persons at the expense at the life of the woman. The perpetrators are quite prepared to breach it. And that is why I said earlier, we perhaps have to revisit also the consequences of the breach of the order. We have experienced in Guyana too many deaths as a result of breaching the order. And it breaks our heart every single time a woman left got orders, and then those orders are breached and she dies. So what our Domestic Violence Act does, it says if an order is breached, the magistrate can fine the man up to $10,000, or the magistrate can imprison for up to 12 months. That, I believe, is ridiculous. We have to return to that.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Imagine the breach of the order. You could serve less than 12 months imprisonment for breaching an order. So that we have to return, we have to revisit that, we have to amend it. We really have to look back at the legislation. But apart from all of that, what we have in place right now, you need to also protect yourself as a victim. So you may have all these orders, but you either need to go to a safe house or have a guard or something around you. I mean, you may not be able to afford it, but your family may have to get involved with you right now as it is to assist in protecting you. Because the police will only come after a crime has been committed. So that you can't even depend on the police for your day-to-day protection. They can't be with you 24/7. So it's either safe house, either the assistance of your family, but you simply cannot depend on that order alone. The fact of the matter is the perpetrators are prepared to breach it. So until we could solve that nationally, by virtue of legislation, I tell victims, work 24/7 on your self-protection. The order is just a paper. He could breach that order.
Well, thank you for giving them that. Thank you for giving them that warning. I didn't get such a warning from the magistrate, but when I recognized that I was in trouble, I quickly acted to thwart whatever he was going to do. So I matched his firepower, and when he recognized that I had a bodyguard who was a sharpshooter, he ran and left this country. That's the only way I got peace, Tracey. That's why I can walk freely.
You were extremely...
I saw him. Back in 2008, I saw him. Do you know how he's so brave? He came into my face and actually did this and breathed into my face, walking with his wife and his mother. Still came intimidatory. Wow. And when I said this to a family member, and he said, you want us to go after him? And I said, no. He did not touch me. He tried to, I said I did nothing. He came into and just did that, menacingly into my face. I was actually helping my brother marketing. My brother had a small business then, and I was assisting my brother because he was going through a tough time. So I was supporting my brother through his tough time in dealing with the family issues that he was doing. I was shocked to see him walking. That's the first time I saw him after running for my life in 2002. I saw him back in 2008, and he still had me. He still felt he could have done, into my face. My brother wanted to really, I'm telling you, my brother wanted to execute him. I begged for my brother. I said, no, leave him alive. He must see me thriving.
All right, so I just want to pause for a quick minute. We're now joined by Miss Shondell Williamson. She is my dear friend. And Shondell is a domestic violence survivor. On the first program that we had, Shondell was on. And for the people who may not know, Shondell was doused with corrosive acid by the father of her two sons almost 2 years ago. And basically, she's unable to see. As you can see, her marks are very visible. She was brought here in the studio by her sister, and she is in the U.S. to undergo another surgery. I think this is going to be her 13th? 12. Her 12th surgery that she has to undergo, and she has a very long road ahead of her. So Shondell, thank you for taking the time out to come here and to speak. You continue to use your unfortunate situation to encourage women, to motivate them to leave, to speak up for our women. So we thank you for that.
You're welcome, Tracey.
All right. So ladies, we're going to talk. So I just want to talk to Shondell a little bit here about recognizing the signs of abuse. How do you know that a man is abusive?
The way he talk, like the way he responds to you, like maybe a normal conversation, or you're trying to discuss something with him. His tone of voice, it might be way out. Another thing, he might like abuse you with words and be controlling. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot that you could look out for.
And Shondell, what has it been like? You've been to the U.S. back and forth
Yeah.
a number of times. You have to leave your children, you leave your family to come here and to undergo these surgeries, which are obviously physically very painful. What has that been like for you for the past 2 years?
It is difficult. Sometimes the pain is be like overbearing, but I try not to think about the pain. I just try to think about, you know what, where am I gonna get from it? And I'm trying a whole lot. It hasn't been easy, but I just thank God for giving me the strength, and there is purpose.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose. Beautiful word. What since you know this has happened to you, this very, very unfortunate incident, what do you feel like your purpose is? And it's still amazing that you have so much strength that you can see past this and you know that you have a purpose. What do you think that purpose is?
My purpose is to like use my scar as a blessing, and I'm not gonna let my scar be a bother to me. Like for instance, some people might just have a little, and you know might think that, oh my gosh, this is a whole lot. But if you to look, it's like my whole face, my front, my back have sprinkles, my hand is like my whole body. My two thighs, they have scars also. So I just want to use them to like help build other people confidence and to help other domestic like people that going through, you know, help them to move forward and just show them what the sign is and how they could build their confidence.
What's been the hardest part of this whole incident, this whole issue for you? Because I know you're unable to see.
Yeah.
But what's been the hardest part for you? And take into consideration your children and family and all of that.
The hardest part, it was when my two kids had first come to see me. In fact, when they saw me, they didn't want to come close to me, and I wanted to know, you know what, is they gonna get past that? But for instance, they get over it, and it is the love, and it is so wonderful. It is a very good feeling because now when I was back home, I was loved by them, and that is so good.
And I know you had told me as well, it's good that we have you here and that we can talk about this, and we want for people to know what happened to you because you're so willing to share your story. For women who are looking, these are the scars of domestic violence, you know?
Yes.
It wasn't just something that happened overnight. It was a build-up of just the father of her children, he was verbally abusive, and then things got physical. And then to this extent, and now this is, you know, Shondell's scar. Shondell is so brave. She's sharing this with us in hopes that if a woman who's looking, listening, or you know anyone who's been abused, you're going to walk away, you're going to speak up, because you were also isolated from your family.
Yes.
So you couldn't get to them as well. And so usually, you know, that's what abusers do. And I know Miss Cole, oh my God, you're getting extremely emotional. Yes, Shondell is very brave to be talking to us. Why are you getting so emotional, Miss Cole?
She hurt me when she said her scar is a blessing. That was really painful. Okay? That's a crime. That ain't no blessing. Okay? What he has done to her, he should be paying for it forever. Okay? So that was really painful to hear her say the scar is a blessing. That's a crime to disfigure her beauty and have her children run from her. I am crying again because I cry every time I look at her story. I was watching it just recently the other day with her 2 children. When Shia posted something on their Facebook, I was crying. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. The fact that we are having women accommodate this crime and call it a blessing. It's a crime, and we have to call it that. And unless we start treating it like a crime, like when fishermen are attacked, we see presidents is willing to rush to their aid and to have flags flying at half mast. Women are being murdered in this country, and we don't see the same type of robust attitude. It's like if we are just sitting ducks. It's a war against women, and the war is being perpetrated by men, and this is why it's femicide. That's why I've gotten so emotional. We are talking all the time. Men don't respond to talk, they respond to action. And unless we can hit them where it hurts, we are going to have more tears being shed, like I'm shedding today.
I know Shondell wants to say something. Go ahead, Shondell.
The reason why I say it's a blessing is because it moved me from one.
Yeah.
The reason why I say it's a blessing is because it moved me from one person to another person. I mean, it's not like everybody that going through it, they should say that's a blessing. No. The reason why I say it's a blessing is because I could help others to like move
You are
from
blessed
a
to
place
be alive.
to a
You
place.
are
Yes,
blessed
I am
to be
blessed to
alive.
be alive.
You are blessed to be alive,
Yes.
but what he has done to you is a crime.
I
Yeah.
know it's a crime.
crime.
Yes, he have to pay for what he done to me. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, Miss Kyte, I know Miss Cole just touched on it, and she said, you know, men respond by action. And when we were speaking prior to the program, to the program, you spoke about some of the penalties that needs to be enforced or added to the legislation. Can we discuss that? Because indeed, the men, they are not respectful of the law. Shondell walked away from her abusive situation. She walked away.
Did.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't a
She
situation
did,
where she
just like
stayed.
me. She walked away, but she didn't have a bodyguard.
And that is what
She didn't have a bodyguard.
exactly.
Okay, she walked away.
And that is what we keep seeing. Women, those women who become strong enough, who find that strength to walk, some of them pay. Either, as in Shondell's case, by totally scarring her, or with their life. I was chatting, and I've often said this, I've expressed it, and I have no fear in expressing it. We need to revisit the crimes under our Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act and our Criminal Law Offences Act, and put in place provisions once it's a domestic violence related offense. If perhaps we increase the penalties and persons realize that once there's a murder associated with domestic violence, you will die by hanging. And perhaps if we, see some persons or we read of some of the hanging being enforced on some men who have killed their wives, perhaps we will look at things a little more different. And if we have in place, I didn't hear that, Nicole.
I agree with you.
Oh, thank you. If we have in place the fact that you can't receive bail, bail should be refused. And we may have to amend our legislation, our pieces of legislation to provide for this. Bail should be refused. So once they're charged criminally also with the domestic violence application, they're refused bail. Because some of them, even after the first orders in court, go back to torment and molest the women. A young lady came to me recently. The perpetrator went to her place of work, her school. He put at risk her life and all those children who she's teaching. He's walking around freely after an order is in place, so that we have to revisit this. This could only come through Parliament. Let's have the conversation. Let us have the conversation. Let us move in the direction of reforming and amending our legislation.
And whilst we're having the conversation,
Nicole?
we should fire the public security minister. He is clueless, absolutely clueless. He's not doing anything to reduce this crime.
But I know you were Well, that caught me off guard. Sorry, but I know you were in agreement with Miss Kyte talking about the death penalty, Miss Cole. What your thoughts more on that?
Yes, because you're taking a life. For example, when Rihanna Payne got 14 bullets from a Guyana Defense Force officer who has now been struck off strength. It was with such impunity. Everybody wanted to know why 14 bullets. You see how fast you had persons, lawyers running to defend him to say he was psychotic and they want him to see a shrink. And I'm so happy that Dr. Harry said he's fit to stand trial. They were bringing in somebody from foreign, a lot of bluff and talk. In other words, it was to get him off. It was to make it look as though he's mentally unfit, make you do that. That is malice. That is hatred. That is love turned to hate. You took a gun and you put 15 bullets, 14 bullets, you emptied that clip. She would have been dead after perhaps the first shot to her head. But you still hate her that much to shoot her down in the streets like if she's an animal. That's the extent to which this domestic violence have gone. Look at Miss Gill, struck down in the streets and murdered. In the streets, we are being killed. Who cares about us? Monica Reese, let's go all the way back and let's bring back some memories. In the streets, she died. Women are dying in the streets, and we have a government pontificating running around campaigning for women's vote. No women should vote in this election coming up unless there is something done to the legislation as Magistrate Kim is advocating. We have got to get serious. Men going in power to use resources and monies, and they don't care about us. We are pawns in their game. They just want us for the votes, and they put us in position as window dressing. They don't really give a heart to what we really go through. You know it because when fishermen are killed, our president raises his voice and he speaks about lowering the flag. But when women are killed, you don't even hear zilch from him, nor the public security minister, who's clueless, absolutely clueless. I shouldn't be in the position that he's in right now. He has failed on public security.
So you're basically in agreement with what Miss Kyte has said that hanging.
Of course.
Shondell, I want to ask you.
We've got to get more serious.
I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on hanging if a man is to hurt a woman the way you've been hurt and your scars are very recent? Are you in support of something like that or more stringent laws? You'll just hold up the mic.
I am totally agree with that because if they bring the law now, men to be hanged, at least the men gonna be scared to like put their hand on a woman. So I totally agree with it.
We have, I believe we have to get serious. We have to get serious as a nation. And a man should not be able to walk away with a little tap on his wrist after committing these crimes. It is time we say no to that. We have to come out as a people and recognize the law is not working. Perhaps, I remember I was a young girl then, former President Kyte said, I think it was in relation to the Cape Down Door bandits,
yes.
Hang them high.
Oh,
and
yes.
perhaps if we see some of that, if the community, if our nation, if we see some of that, some men will think again about taking the life of a person because you don't own that woman. That woman is not your property. Because she has decided to leave, that you feel that if she exercises that right, you can take her life. If they know they
also a conversation around rejection. There is something with men that don't like to hear a woman say no, and they think all of a sudden her no means she must not reject them. When they are rejected, they hound you and they kill. That is what has happened. The fact that when you walk away, it's a rejection of them. You don't want them anymore. Why can't you don't want them and men accept that you don't want them anymore?
And it comes back to coping mechanisms because the men are are unable to cope, and so we have to deal with this aspect of it as well, because I think a lot of the times we focus on helping the women, counseling the women, helping them to move on, to empower them, and they move on, but the men are left in the same place. And so how do we help them to cope so that they don't harm our women, apart from, you know, legislations and all of that?
We need a batterer intervention program. 2 years ago, I said this to the Minister of Public Security, in asking for a buffer intervention, in looking at the perpetrator and looking at it holistically, recognizing that the perpetrator also, before you put this perpetrator, because what we do to the men here, when they don't kill themselves, we jail them, right? And then we jail them for a period of time. So eventually they're going to come back out, right, magistrate? So how do we reintegrate them into the society with the same mindset? Exactly. If we're doing nothing to rehabilitate their mind while they're in prison, yes. We're not having any rehabilitation. It is not only about punishment. You have to rehabilitate. So if you're only punishing and you have no rehabilitation, then what is the purpose? You've done nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing.
That is why I said earlier, it's every sector, not just the justice sector. And we have to not only focus on the end game, which is where the justice sector will come in. We have to go to the roots. And if we make this a national issue, it means that we should provide counseling and therapy for our men. They need help. They need help because they have to recognize that the woman, your wife is not your property. That person could leave, and they should have that right to leave. So some of them, and what you were speaking to earlier, Nicole, they see what has happened in their own household as children, and they feel that they also do that. So they see their father, they see their mother being docile, collecting the blows, they see the father meeting it out, and then they think that they could do the same thing when they marry. So we have to go to the root cause. We have to go back to our families. We have to provide therapy. We have to provide counseling. We have to provide education. It is not, this fight can't only be the justice sector.
I agree with you, magistrate. That is every section of society. Yes. We have to visit it. I think it has reached the level where it's a national crisis. It's a public health crisis. As a people. Call it for me. Please.
All
it's
right.
A public health crisis.
So we're going to pause. Yes. We're going to pause for a minute because we have some questions and comments from persons online.
Okay. We do.
Ali says, women are not aware of their rights and possess low self-esteem and confidence. I think society needs to embark on the plans that promotes and boosts this among women. Ms. Cole is on point with that point she made about childhood abuse. Gilda Smith says, I applaud these women who are speaking from life experience to inspire others. Paul David says, it's a violation of the woman. Dana Mangru says, how hurrying. Miss, let your voice be acknowledged worldwide. Allow yourself to be free indeed. Yeah. Hannah Mohammed said, there are men who still think that women are tools to be used and to abuse them and their rights. Stop that, you bullies. We are not.
All right, so thank you there, Devin. Those were some of the comments that we had from online. And the first one where the person said that, you know, women have low self-esteem and that's why they're being abused in some cases. But what are your thoughts on that, Ms. Kyte?
Okay. The low self-esteem is indeed a contributory factor why a woman would accept domestic violence. And it goes towards, it's not even just about the low self-esteem. Some women perhaps feel that they have to stay in the relationship because they can't earn on their own. Some women actually accept the behavior, accept the violence because the man is the breadwinner of the family. He has to provide for them. He has to provide for the children. So they feel trapped. You can't leave because you feel like you can't leave. And that is why we have to empower our women. That is why I keep calling for us to deal with this issue nationally, every stakeholder. Our women must be empowered. So whatever skill they have, You try to improve on that skill so they don't feel trapped. They could walk at any time because they have the ability to earn. And even if they don't have the ability to earn, I like what Nicole said about the victim fund. Let us have money put up somewhere to assist these women and their children until they could get back on their feet. But no woman, whether or not they don't have the requisite skills to earn, should accept that type of behavior. You need to get out and
It's a
focus.
crime.
Yes, it's a crime. And we have to focus on empowering them. They must realize, look, I could stand on my own 2 feet and I could also earn. Now, the other thing is, what persons don't know too is that even when you go for the protection and the occupation order, the magistrate could also make a maintenance order. So that the man would be, by law, by court order, he must provide for those children. He must pay that woman maintenance for those children. And if she's married, he has to pay maintenance for her also, so that the magistrate can at the same time make maintenance orders. But we need to empower our, we have to empower them. We have to go back, we have to teach them, we have to train them, we have to educate them. Women must be empowered. No woman must stay in that situation because they feel that there is no solution or there's no way out.
Miss Cole, your thoughts on that? I know you touched on it a little bit.
What the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon scaled up. He said nations must address the issue of violence against women as a public health crisis. When we scale it up, you heard Magistrate Kyte keep hitting on the fact that it's not just the justice sector. When we make it a public health budget, is one of the largest budgets that you will have in any country, in any part of the world. When we scale up domestic violence in this country to a public health crisis, do you know what it calls for? It calls for you to put your money where your mouth there. They will have to make resources available. This is why they're dilly-dallying, you know. This is the bare reason why they're dilly-dallying. And again, I just want to go quickly back to what I said on the 4th of June, published 2018. These killings are occurring with impunity because there is no concrete, comprehensive prevention plan to arrest it. We are doing nothing. We don't have counseling centers in communities so that when people start, because remember, as Ms. Williamson said, it starts with verbal. So if you hear your neighbor get a cuss out, you could, you know what I mean? The counsel come, you start from there. The abuse starts verbally. I'm counseling the young people that I'm working with, the students at the university I work with, to have them look at the sign to say he starts first with the language. And this is why I pay attention to the songs and what men call women. The language they use is critical because they start abusing you first by what they say before it gets physical. Yes. And so when we have a public health approach, when you heard me talk about prevention at the primary, secondary, and tertiary level, I'm talking about clinical approaches that will tackle it. The justice sector definitely can't do it alone. We need medicine involved because women are being maimed. And even when they go to the hospital, domestic violence is not treated as an emergency. I was there one night with a girl for hours. Do you know how we got served? I got up and opened my mouth loud. And then the doctor heard me. And because I was working at the Campbellville Health Center at that time, and they knew I was in the public health system, I got served. But we sat there for hours and they told me it's not an emergency.
Indeed. I want to ask Shondell, why did you stay? Because the person who gave the comment there just now, they said low self-esteem, and Ms. Kyte and Ms. Cole also spoke on, you know, being financially dependent on the person. Well, what were your reasons for staying?
My reason for staying is because I'm a mother of two. I need like both of my kids to be around mother and father because I have two sons. And they need a male role model in their life. I didn't grow up with my father. and it was really hard on my mother. So to be around with both parents, I think it was easier to like help them in the way that they have to go right. And another thing is like the beating was, I must say the beating was like, I have get used to it, because after the beating, yes, it used to be the romance phrase where you'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, and you know the romantic way they come and they apologize, and then you end up getting him back into it, and you don't even know that it been so long that you're in it. I had to get out because I want a better life, because my kids them, they're getting big. I don't want my kids them to see me, they already had saw some incident already. I don't want them to be in, you know, have to witness it for all the days of their life. So I just get out of it because it's to free them and also free myself.
Yes. Indeed. And I want for us to touch now a little on the effects of domestic violence on children, because Shondell made a point where, you know, she thought that keeping her family together was the best thing for the children. But really and truly, was it the best thing, or are we traumatizing our children more when we stay in a situation like this?
You traumatize them.
I
know that.
I want to hear. Let me hear from Shondell. Like, how have your boys coped? And then we'll talk to, of course, Miss Kyte and Miss Cole. But how has this affected your children?
It affected them a whole lot, especially my big boy. He is 8, and sometimes he acts out. He's a very angry person. Like, if you talk to him and tell him that's something wrong to do, he will look at you in a angry way, you know, like if he just want to like lash out at you. And sometimes I will be in the bed with them and they will talk and they will bring up story, mommy, I remember when daddy used to do you this, and you know, it's like they remember every single thing. And I try not to talk about it, but still they will remember and they will bring it up, and it affected them a whole lot.
And so it wasn't the best thing to stay, because you know the children were affected even more. Ladies, can we touch on this now? How children are affected by this?
They're further traumatized, and I want to ask Miss Williamson if her sons are receiving counseling.
No, they're not.
They need to have therapy. Pardon me?
They're not receiving.
But they need it. Do you know why they're angry? Let me tell you why they're angry. They wanted to defend you, because that's who boys are with their mothers.
I know, I get that a lot, because they will say when they grow up, the big one, he wants to be a police. Why he want to be a police? You won't want to imagine what's the answer. He want to shoot his father.
Oh my God.
Listen to me. That is a real, honest feeling.
Yes.
My son wanted to murder the man I was with. I had to counsel him over and over. That was the only thing in his mind. He's going out with this man. He was 8 or 7. When he saw me at this car, he actually stopped the abuse by running and pushing my ex. He got involved, and that's when my ex got up and walked out the house. He got involved, he pushed him. And he was in tears because he saw so much blood. He was just he thought I was gonna die. And he went and he told his grandmother, he said, if I was 16, when I'm 60, nobody can hit my mom. So my son, I've counseled him, and there are times he would remember, and I would hug him. I would say, look, I left him. You remember that I walked away, and I walked away because I don't want you to become such a man. He's not an example of what a man should be. Okay? You don't raise your hands and hit a woman. You don't do that. And so I counsel my son. I talk to him. Now when we talk about it, we can have a laugh, and then we can talk about how far I've come. The fact that I'm advocating, the fact that I'm always out there willing to share my story like I'm doing today in an effort to better the system that is there. What sense it make we boast about our laws, but it does nothing to help?
Yeah.
We've got to do something differently. We cannot be voting for men who don't care for us. Let us make the vote in 2020 a domestic violence vote for women. And let us see action, because men can't get into power without women's vote. We are an important constituency. Men
We have our
can't
in
get
studio
into power
audience
without women's vote.
are in approval. Miss Kyte, your thoughts on how the children are affected? I mean, what Shondell just said, I am, these things I know that children are traumatized, but that's shocking.
Yes.
Yeah, he loves his mom, and
They,
he's prepared to take out his father.
yes, the reality is, I think every mother, and we're all mothers here in this program, you want the best for your children. And you
Yes.
think sometimes, and I'm speaking here for any mother who's listening, you feel sometimes having both parents in the home, or I should say the ideal situation, having both parents in the home, is the best situation. However, no child, it cannot be in the best interest and the welfare of any child to witness domestic violence, to witness their father beating away, or because we've been talking about the beating, but it's also emotional and psychological, witnessing any form of abuse. That cannot be in their best interest. You know why? We are perpetrating that cycle. That cycle will continue. It will continue. It will move from generation to generation to generation. So that, and where I'm speaking here also to our religious organizations, I'm speaking also to some of our mothers who don't want to see divorced daughters. And I'm saying this, a divorced daughter is better than a dead daughter.
I second that.
Right? And I saw that quote somewhere, and I fully agree with it. It is better your daughter is divorced and she's dead. So this thing of telling people stay, he gonna stop, we have to stop it.
Thank
We
you.
have to stop telling people that. And
Thank you.
think about the children. It is because you're thinking about the children that you are leaving. You are putting the welfare of those children first.
Thank you.
That is why you're leaving.
Thank
Not
you.
staying for them to either become victims of abuse or become perpetrators of abuse. So I applaud every woman
Yeah.
who got up and left. And anybody who's listening and thinking about the children and all of that, it is in their best interest, sister, that you leave. It is in their best interest that you leave. Don't let anybody encourage you to stay in a domestic violence situation. It cannot end well.
And Shondell, I know you touched on it with your boys, and especially the older one, because he's more aware of what's happening. Are you, because they haven't gotten any counseling? That's something that we
They
need to look
counseling.
at.
So many
Yeah.
years after, they
Yeah.
should have had counseling. Come on.
Indeed,
So many
indeed.
years after.
Are you afraid, and how do you intend to work to ensure that that this cycle of violence, they don't perpetrate it either, because these children are traumatized? For your son to say he wants to be a police so that he could shoot his father because his
He
father
needs
hurt you.
counseling. He needs counseling. He's hurt. He's hurting.
Exactly. Are you
hurting.
afraid? I'm sure you have concerns about them possibly doing the same thing, because they don't know that's what they saw growing up.
Yeah, I try my best to talk
I
to
know you
him
do.
and give him the love that he need. Like when I'm around, I give him all the love that I could give him, and I try my best.
I know you do,
And
definitely.
even to my mom, my
Yeah.
sisters back home, they also do.
Yeah, Shondell has a very supportive family, because she's away so much doing surgery and all of that. I know her mother, one of her sisters here with her. Every time she has to do surgery, a family member has to come with her because she's unable to see. And so she has an extremely good support system as well. I want for you to talk directly to a mother, or mothers who are listening, who are in the situation, and their reasoning for staying, as was one of your reasoning, was, I'm staying because of the children. What would you say?
No use you stay in an abusive relationship when your children is there seeing the father hitting. cursing, doing all sort of things, you know, it will like turn a child mind. A child might grow to be end up being this follow the same footstep as his father, or maybe it might change him. You could never tell. But even self, just get out. Even if you have to go and do some little thing to earn your own money, you just do it, just to save yourself and also your child.
Indeed, indeed. And that's what Shondell did when she left, when she finally decided to leave. She left, she got a job in her hometown of New Amsterdam, and it was while she was working that her son's father came disguised as a woman and just doused her with this acid. He dressed himself as a woman, and then while leaving, if I'm correct, he said, "If I can't have you, no one."
No, that saying was on another incident.
So
I heard that. I heard that repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That used to be whispered into my ears quietly.
If I don't have you, no other can.
If I can't have you, no one else can have you. That used to be whispered in my ears quietly all the time.
It's that other people have to look out for, other women have to look out for, because certain words a man might mention to you, you might just take it for fun, but you have to listen out carefully for those words.
Yeah, those are powerful words.
Yeah.
Those are words of death.
Yes.
What he is
Of
telling
death.
you is malice aforethought,
Yes.
mens rea. Yes, in Latin is known as mens rea. That's malice.
Yeah.
If I can't have you, it's already in his mind that you are mine.
Yeah.
And mine only. You are mine and mine only. All right?
Yes.
Yes, she is mine. It's similar to the song we hear from old. She wears my ring to show the world that she belongs to me. You know that song? She
Yeah.
wears my ring to show the world that she belongs to me.
Yes.
So what I own, I control, and I can do what I want with it because you are my property. That's the rationale of these men. That's the very rationale. And something Magistrate Kyte said, religion. Tracey, last year, November, the Catholic Church had a forum called Respect Jew. Oh, man, they just love it. You know, they respect Jew, and they were addressing the issue of domestic violence. And I challenged the Catholic Bishop Francis Aline, Father Montrose, and I think the priest was Lachman Singh. I challenged the Catholic Church. I asked them a question right there and then. I said, if there's a member of your church immediately now who is facing death by the man in her life, by her intimate partner, and she calls the church to say, I am in danger, my life is threatened, do the church have a place that she can come to? Do you know what the answer was? No. This is the Catholic Church. I subsequently challenged the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Olivet, right in Durban Backland. The very same question I asked. There's a church in BV. I went to talk about domestic violence. I asked them to please, because women, we congregate in churches the most. And that is where we take our little monies to. Where we will take the last money and give to God. Nothing at home to eat. I tell you what, my mother. Nothing in the house to eat, but you give your last money to God. And the church is not doing enough. For me, they're talking, the Seventh-day Adventist program. They have a lovely program. They go around talking. But I challenge the Seventh-day Adventists to provide safe homes. I've challenged the Catholic Church to do the same. I've challenged all denominations. The recent one I challenged was the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha, whereby they said to me they have provision for children. And I said, what about the women? It is women who give birth to children. So the religious institutions have a responsibility.
Yes.
Because they preach how docile and how we must respect. You know, if you look at the Bible, you must forsake all others. You got to honor, obey, and submit. Look at the language they use.
Pastor in the house, we have Pastor Lisa's thing. I'm going to bring Pastor on as well to add to this conversation. Go ahead, Miss Cole.
There's a
So
pastor there? My goodness, lovely.
Miss Cole, go ahead. You were talking.
I'm asking if there's a pastor there. It is wonderful. The religious books are used to tell women how they must behave and how they must submit and love their husbands. In the similar manner, it is not used to preach upon men what they must do. We don't hear it much telling the men
I understand.
what they must do. So
The
we need to have that.
women, we learn faster. You know, men, you know, I'll leave that. Well, I think Pastor Lisa's going to join us and she's going to add to this aspect of the conversation. But for the person who's tuning in,
The role of the church in reducing domestic violence.
Of course.
What is the role of the church?
Of course.
Yeah.
And also to our viewers who I do not even have enough words to explain or to express how proud I am of Shondell, that she is using her scars to bless other people and to live and to help other people. And I'm also joined by attorney at law, Miss Kyte, who was the former Solicitor General of Guyana, and also Miss Nicole Cole, a fighter in this fight against domestic violence. So here we're joined by Pastor Lisa Singh. And Pastor Lisa, thank you, of course, for joining us. She was listening on the conversation all the while. And so, you know, Pastor Lisa is going to touch on that aspect, the role of the church in the fight against domestic violence.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tracey, so much for the opportunity. Is it on? For the opportunity to be here. To the ladies online, I really appreciate. I enjoyed listening to you all. I like the take of the legal advice. I love, of course, Miss Cole, very outspoken, bold. It's what we need. And of course, Shondell, I can't. I get very emotional when I see you and when I talk about you. Just to add, yes, Miss Cole is very correct. The church especially has been, we push the role of what women are supposed to do, and very rare the men's aspect get pushed to the side. And I agree with Tracey, because women learn faster. We tend to push that agenda. But
can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
But you know, with discussions like this, it is important. It is very important that we open up the discussions. And Miss Cole and Miss Kyte, the truth is that church, which is good to talk and bring sermons and all of that, we don't get the opportunity to do this. Hence the reason for the show, this show. We want to open up more forums. We want to educate people more. And I'm very, very much encouraged that this is happening. My goal is to also make sure that we bring awareness to these issues. I also have a program on Globespan called Issues of the Heart, Keeping It Real. And I address issues that we don't get to talk about much in church. So having a forum like this is amazing. What I do want to say also is that even though we were talking about the children, Tracey, and children being affected by it, I also come from an abusive home. I grew up in a home where my stepfather was an alcoholic. And as much as the domestic violence affects the mother, it also affects the children very adversely. I was abused as much as my mother was abused. And I would always ask myself, why are we staying here? Why are we staying here? And to be honest with you, we as children who go through abuse and experience abuse, I'm talking to mothers out there who think they have to stay. You are doing so much more damage to your children. And I understand it. My mother would always say, where would we go? Where would we go? And so we used to have to, I'm not foreign to this. We would have to go sell in the market and wash people's clothes and do domestic work just so we could come and fuel and take care of an alcoholic.
Wow.
We would sacrifice everything for ourselves to make sure that this has happened. And this is why we need these kinds of conversations. People can't afford to be ashamed anymore to talk about this. Well, our mothers, our grandmothers, they had nowhere to go. My mother lived abuse all her life. She was married off at age 15 to someone double her age. She was beaten daily. And every time she go back, my grandmother would say, you have to go back and you have to go back. And so she just moved from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship, looking for abuse. And then we as kids grow up thinking, if that man doesn't abuse me, then he doesn't love me. And we are perpetuating this. So these kinds of conversations is excellent, and I will support this 100%. I will be here for every show. I will give my 2 cents. I'm not ashamed. And we survived it. But sometimes the kids' mental condition, I grew up hating men. It's a blessing I'm a pastor today. All of that added. I had problems with intimacy. I had problems forgiving. I had a lot of pride problems. You know, one person asked me, how did you get psychological help? I didn't, but God saved my life. It changed my life. So this is a clarion call for women out there. This is not a time to sit down and feel afraid or shy or ashamed. There's nothing ashamed about someone beating you and you staying quiet about it. We have more support in this time. We have more avenues. We are making it available through Globespan. So I want to really commend you women for the work that you're doing. Please don't stop doing it. Whatever we can do to work together, I want to be part of it. And Shondell, keep telling your story. Your story will save many. It will save many. You know, in church we say our mess can become our message. Our test becomes our testimony. So keep preaching it, keep telling it, because you're going to save somebody's life out there. Thank you, Tracey.
Thank you so much, Pastor Lisa. That was beautifully said. And as we get ready to wrap up, I'll just have the ladies give their final take on this issue.
To anybody listening, I hope that your take from this program will be that there is help out there, that you should not stay. Do not stay. There is no victim shaming anymore. You didn't do anything wrong. The reason a man may be abusing you, it's not because you did anything wrong. You could pick up and leave. And from these women who you've been listening to, Nicole and Shondell and Pastor Lisa, all right, that there is victory at the end. You will survive. You can't be a survivor, but staying in it, you may not survive. So the better thing is to get out. I am telling you, get out. And every sector, my take on it, every sector, the churches, all religious organizations, all religions, all sectors in society, the justice sector, we all have our role to play. Let us work together. Let us come together and let us fight this insidious crime. Let us come together. Let us unite in the fight against domestic violence. What I want to use Tracey's platform, Globespan's platform, to do right now is to introduce you to an organization. It is called, look for us on Facebook, look for us on Instagram, and our telephone number is 223-1219 or 231-7012. We call Dorcas Mending Hearts Ministry. We provide free representation in court. Any victim of domestic violence, free representation in court, free counseling, free legal advice. You don't have to pay. We are a church-based organization. You don't have to pay a cent. You could be from any religion. That is not our issue. We are here to help, and it is free. Of course, you will be represented in court. We will ensure that your rights are met, and as far as possible, they are enforced. So if you listen out there, you look for us. Dorcas Mending Hearts Ministry, Inc. You look for us, Facebook, Instagram, call us, right? 600-1227, 669-5686. Those are numbers you can get us on. We are here to help you. Do not say, do not accept far less than what God created you to be. Do not come out, get out. I'm done for now.
Beautifully said.
Lastly, the name of the organization again, I just want to ensure that people hear this and they have this information that they can use it.
Yes,
Dorcas.
it's Dorcas Mending Hearts Ministry. Dorcas Mending Hearts.
You want to spell the Dorcas for them? You want to spell it so they know?
Dorcas.
Yes.
You put that on Facebook, you should be able to search and find us. Instagram, the same thing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Miss Cole, your final thoughts?
Sure. I would like to say to the women who are tuned in, a line from one of the greatest voices to grace our beautiful world, Whitney Houston. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. You see, we have been conditioned and taught through the churches to give. And we give so much that we don't give to ourselves. Don't feel guilty about loving who you are. And making a decision to leave an abusive relationship is learning to love yourself. Abuse is not love. No form of abuse is love. Don't accept it. From the minute he talks, what we call wrong talk, listen, play cricket with him. Catch him in the slips. And if he swing and he miss, you hit out the stumps. One chance only. No other chances. Because men don't give women second chances. Are you hearing me? Men do not give women second chances. If we listen to the songs they sing, Taras Riley tell you, if you take it, could pack up and leave, don't come back. Good. We need to be that strong.
Yes.
Men leave when they want to, and they come when they want to. We have got to take a page out of their book. We've got to think like a man while acting like a woman and stand with them pound for pound. That's why I'm alive. When he recognized I had a sharpshooter, Mama Boy run, because I was going to make skin burn. I wasn't going to play with him no more. The games was over. Secondly, and most important, the elections that is upcoming, unless there's a party willing to show a comprehensive plan to reduce, this is a prevention plan, to reduce domestic violence, no woman should go out to vote. Not one of us should be there voting. I'm not voting for any party who doesn't show me that they have a plan to reduce violence in this nation. It is too much and we're taking it too little. You see the Women's March in the USA? Do you see how those women are moving and marching across the world? We need to have a Women's March in Guyana, not only once a year to give platitudes and to make it look as though we're doing something. One where we hit men where it hurts. They want our vote. And we must tie a reduction plan in domestic violence to our votes. That's the only way we're going to get action. And you see with oil and gas, Tracey, Kim, Shondell, we must ask for there to be money set aside for women who have survived.
Yes.
There must be a survivors fund. We are not going to get in oil and you tell us we can't get the money. They've already tried to hide the 18 million from us. We're not accepting that from the men. And we've got to be serious with them. We want the money. We need the money. Without money, we can't win the fight. I thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And I just want for Shondell to give her final take, and then I will give mine. I'm so honored to be sitting amongst you women, so vocal. I love it. Shondell?
Thank you, Miss Nicole, Miss Kyte. I love you guys.
I love you. You are such a strong woman. God bless you.
You are.
Thank you.
You are a strong woman. And you have a beautiful smile.
Yes.
Yeah, your smile is beautiful.
We are here to fight with you.
Thanks. To women, right, that going through domestic violence, you going through it, you might think like, is something wrong with you? When they do it to you, they make you look like if you're the victim, like if, you're the fault. Yeah. But with one hit, that is too much. Just get out as fast as you can. And another thing, when you get out, you just need to be careful with your life. And our women, we need to unite. Stop backbiting and stop the name talking and all kind of things. We need to unite. We need to put a unite into it. Look out for one another.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I'd just like to thank Miss Kyte so much for coming on the show. It's such a blessing and an honor to sit with you, to talk with you. Also to Miss Cole, I know the work that both you ladies have been doing in Guyana in the fight against domestic violence and so many other areas. And so we're very, very thankful. As I said, I feel very honored to sit and to talk with both of you. I thank you for being as honest as you possibly can, for being as vocal on this issue, because a lot of the times we're afraid to really speak out and to share what we feel and what really should be done on matters like this. And just to say, this is not anything political, because this is a real issue. Women are dying, and so we really need to get radical. We need to be realistic, and we need to say and to do what really needs to be done. And to Shondell is the most optimistic person I know. I remember the first time I went to see her and I did this story with her. She just smiled all the way through. And so it's so beautiful. It's infectious. She has a beautiful smile. She looks beautiful. And so Shondell, thank you so much for coming and for sharing your story again. I know sometimes it must be painful talking about these things over and over, but you're using your mess as a blessing to others, and we thank you so very, very much. To Globespan 24/7, thank you for giving us this platform to be able to have these conversations and to bring awareness. And also to Pastor Lisa, a big thank you for sharing some of the things that you would have experienced personally. And we have, of course, relatives of Shondell in the studio with us, her sister and another relative, and we're thankful for them. And I must say that the organization SHE, they have been helping Shondell with the surgery. So a big thank you to them as well, and so many others. So thank you all so much for tuning into this program. We really hope that it was a blessing to you. We hope that it's going to spark some positive changes in your life. If you're not affected by domestic violence directly, even if it's indirectly, let us all come together, work together, let us unite and rid our society of this issue. So ladies, again, thank you so much. Shondell, thank you, and to everyone, have a blessed rest of the weekend.
Thank you for having me, Tracey. And Globespan should do one of these programs at least once a month.
Yes, definitely. We will.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Tracey. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Blessings.